On May 8, 2026, the first batch of documents, videos, and photos was released, even a photo from NASA. That was because of that petition from Trump, right? He had ordered that UFO and UAP documents be released. So they're calling these batches releases, right? So there was the first release on May 8th, and now on May 22nd, pretty quickly, the second batch came out, right? The second release, release 2. And what caught my attention is that all of this is being posted on a government website, which belongs to the US Department of Defense. And this site is wargov.ufo/UFO. And that site, you can check it out later. There's a lot of stuff there. I haven't been able to see everything yet. There's a lot of stuff, and more batches will be made available, right? So it doesn't stop there. It's not just the first and second batch. There's going to be a lot more coming. And what's interesting is that just in the first batch, this site had over 1 billion accesses. So it's crazy how big this topic is. UFOs attract the attention of the public and a lot of people all over the world, right? Imagine 1 billion views, more than 1 billion, right? Views, that's just in release one, just in batch number 1. So that really caught a lot of attention because people want to know. People are eager, right? And it's the first time, right, that this is happening. I say that we're living today in such a long-awaited historic moment, right? Yeah, there are people who say, but nothing was released there. It's just a few lights. It's this, it's that, you know? The whiners already start talking a bunch of nonsense, right? Because it's this, because it's that. I keep thinking if this was hidden from the public for years and now they're releasing it, do you think there weren't qualified people there to analyze, to see if it was a drone, if it was this, if it was that, you know? Yeah. And then people are so annoying to the point that they want to explain everything, right? Now that they're releasing things, soon they might suddenly release something about a UFO crew member, some photo or video of a being, and there will be people saying that's AI, even if it's from 1950, for example, it's AI, right? They don't even know what they're talking about, right? But they like to be contrary, right? Just to illustrate this moment in ufology that we're living through, before we comment, today is Pentecost, right? Whoever is Christian here knows what Pentecost is, right? It was that moment when the disciples of Jesus Christ were gathered in the upper room waiting for the coming of the Holy Spirit, right? And for them to be clothed with power from on high, right? Jesus had already told them that he would send the Comforter, would send the Holy Spirit, and today is the day of Pentecost, right? So for those who have read the Bible or who are curious, it's there in Acts 2, right? The book of Acts in the Bible, chapter 2, starting from verse 1, I think it goes up to 18 or so. We have the story there of the Holy Spirit, where there's the sound of a mighty rushing wind and tongues like fire come down on the heads of the people who were there. And back then, there were about 500 approximately disciples there, around 500 people, but not all of them like persevered in waiting for this coming, right? This moment of Pentecost. Yeah, actually, this came to about 120 people as far as I remember. I might be a bit mistaken, but I think it was 120 some people there who received this. But when that commotion started, all that noise, there was some people outside who noticed it and started to come closer, right? And they noticed the movement and everything. But there were others who were farther away who started to criticize, right? Saying that those people who were there experiencing that were drunk, they were intoxicated, right? Yeah, so that's what I'm doing, making an analogy. Now you'll understand me, an analogy. Because you see, the ufologist who's involved in the case and investigating, who's really close to it, he knows exactly what's going to happen. And he's going to see supernatural things. He's going to see a lot of things happening there. When that happens, other people who are closer, meaning people who like the subject, ufology, and everything else, are the ones who follow the subject more closely. Those people will believe and will try to get closer to understand what's happening in that case, in that situation. And there's a third group, right? I mentioned two groups. The group that's involved, which are those field ufologists who are there, who give their all, right? They go face to face with the witness. There are those who follow from home, from the computer, right? But they're close by, always following, supporting. And there are those who are farther away and who are usually, it's a smaller, more closed off group, but it's a group that tends to want to make its own judgment without understanding what's going on. So he says, look, everyone there is drunk. Those ufologists are talking nonsense, right? They don't know what they're talking about. And then these people, usually they think they own the truth. So today we live in a moment in ufology where we have these three groups. And the group that is closest is attacked or often judged and misunderstood by those who are closed off in their own little world. I think within this analogy I made for you, it's easy to understand. That's what happened at Pentecost, right? Just so we can understand this analogy, right? Later, you can read it in the Bible in Acts 2, which is a very interesting part. You'll notice these three groups of people around a certain topic, which was something mysterious. Ufology is also something mysterious. Well, let's continue with the topic here. So, what was released then on May 22, 2026? In the second batch, we had, well, dozens of videos, right? More than 50 videos released. Some videos that, well, were made by pilots, by vessels, by platforms using infrared. There are videos that were made, well, without using infrared technology, right? They're in color, right? There are 4K films. And what do we see in these images? We see several luminous objects, some with curious shapes, also in the shape of a disc. Some that accelerate instantly, some UAPs, right? Some objects that are in the ocean, near platforms, submarines, right? Which would be the so-called UFOs, USOs. We see, for example, unidentified objects entering and leaving clouds. Some objects making erratic movements, right? And with strange shapes, like I mentioned. And there are also a lot of documents that have been released. Yeah, lots of pages, lots of PDFs, right? With documents, with photos also analyzed by local universities, right? There are reports from several countries, videos from several countries. Anyway, it's a huge amount of material that ufology is looking into to understand. We get the sense that this is something being done in small doses, right? In other words, the first batch came out kind of light, even for the Department of Defense, the American government, to see how the public would react, right? How the citizens would react. It went over well. Okay, now let's go with the second batch, a little deeper. Let's start giving them something a little more interesting. And I believe that from the third or fourth one on, more and more consistent things will start to come. As long as it doesn't put technology or national security issues at risk, right? For the Americans. I'm sure there are things there that they won't ever disclose, right? But the fact that they've released some of it is already a big step forward. I wanted Arthur to play a video because there are videos of objects, right? Like a compilation, for example, right? that show these instant accelerations of these objects in the shape of a sphere, right? The thing with spheres is really common, right? All over the planet, right? Yeah, erratic movements of these strange luminous objects, right? So that's a recording, for example, from an F-18, another sphere there over the sea, right? Those orbs, right, that are seen. There are objects that go into the sea and come out. You can see the reflection and also above the water. There are also several objects over the ocean. This footage, there are some clips here just to give you a little taste. Down below in the video as well, the UAPs are passing by, and here they are zoomed in, right? This one is already in Kazakhstan near the airport. And this one is in 4K, okay? It's a 4K recording. People always say it's all tech pics, right? But this is in 4K, right? And also the objects have a different shape, right? Changing shape. That one, is that a being? Is that an object, right? Could those be those more biological objects people are talking about, right? So there's a lot of stuff that was released there that was considered anomalous, right? By these intelligence agencies that were keeping them under lock and key, and now they're available to the public. Is there anything else? I think there is. I saw it. That's the color video, right? That was made available. It's one of the few. Most are infrared, but that one is in color. So we can see the shape of the object, right? These are really anomalous things, aren't they? The UAPs. The unidentified flying objects, not much different from what we see in our daily research. For 79 years now in modern ufology, since 1947, right? Which was the first known case of Kenneth Arnold from June 24, 1947 until now. We've seen a lot of things in traditional and civilian ufology that remind us of those things, right? But this just goes to confirm that, yes, the government was hiding certain things, right? And that they probably didn't understand what these things are either. They must be studying it. Sometimes you even wonder, could it be Russian technology? Could it be Chinese technology, right? So there's all of that. There's another video, Arthur, that shows these erratic movements. That's exactly the one. Yeah, that's an F-18, right? The pilot is the one flying it, F-18. And he's trying to get closer to this orb, right? This unidentified flying object that's totally, yeah, crazy, isn't it? It makes erratic movements, maneuvers, right? So it's a really weird thing, isn't it? Just imagine how dizzy the pilot must have gotten, right? While chasing this unidentified flying object back then. That's it, I think. I don't know if this video is from 2021. There are new videos that were released, 20, 21, 20. There's 22 as well. 23, I think those are the most recent ones. There are also some pretty interesting reports. Some of them mention cases. Some of them have drawings made by the witness. And this one is interesting because it seems to be, right? And they call it a ghost UFO, right? It kind of looks like a humanoid, something like that. This one really reminds me of the case in Claudio, right? There are some drawings that were made by the witnesses from the Claudio case, which happened in 2008 in Minas Gerais, right? The city of Claudio, Minas Gerais. That was when the military police of Claudio chased luminous beings, and those figures really resemble these ones. I don't know if that's a being, a humanoid, if it's a UFO with a totally unusual different shape, right? But at a certain moment, this one also speeds up and disappears, right? Yeah, there's a drawing of what was made in Claudio. Yeah, later we can, I think, I don't know if you have it there, Arthur. If you do, we can show this drawing just so people have an idea. Because there was a case there where three beings were seen, those luminous ones. It looked like they were crouching. The other one looked like it was standing kind of on alert there, watching, right? Watching what the other was doing. And it was collecting something. And the other one had a tray that was putting those things in. And these beings were luminous, right? So when it happened, do you have the drawing there, Arthur? Just so I know.
I'm checking whether you sent it to me or not.
So I don't know if I sent it to you, right?
I'll check here, but I don't think you sent it to me.
No.
Wait a minute. Yes, there is. I was looking here, but yes, there is. I'll put it here so you can get an idea.
Okay, just to have it here. Look, so that was a drawing made by a witness at that time in 2008 from the Claudio case of luminous creatures that were seen there in the sugarcane field. And so she saw this kind of silhouette. And if we notice, it really resembles the silhouette in that video. That was released now on the website of the American Department of Defense, May 22, 2026, right? So, yeah, would they be the same beings? Wouldn't they? We can't really say, right? But I'm just bringing this up for you because it really reminds me of this kind of situation.